name.
Womanized?
Romanized.
Romanized, okay.
So it could be CHEN, CHAN, CHIN, CHINN, and later on in the Vietnamese dialect, TRAN, TAN. There's like 6 or 7 types of chants. Okay? So you tell me, how do you file?
Oh, right.
It's the same last name.
They get confused.
So that's why it's very hard to identify your ancestral records in that sense.
If two people came at the exact same time, share the exact same name.
If they are interviewed by different officers, they may be spelled differently. So that's why there's so much confusion. Okay? All right. So that's how you get into the dormitory. So you go upstairs now? Do you have any questions for Rob?
Come in first.
Oh, sorry. We'll drop this. All right, we'll take the shortcut and we'll take the elevator up. We will be doing 2 groups. Ms. Richardson, could you lead one group up first?
Sure.
And wait for me on the top floor. Fourth floor. Here you go. Who want to go with Ms. Richardson? Ms. Richards, sorry. And just push number 4. And the other half stay with me. What about you fit in here? How many?
Okay, are we good? All right, good.
See you at
Okay.
4.
Okay, we're going to 4. 4th floor.
Wait, I can still hear her. Yeah. How long does this go up? How's the connection?
Till how long?
Like the connection for.
Oh, well, it'll go away.
Yep, there you go.
Bye-bye.
Rip.
Oh, good.
This one's
Actually, it
so
turned
finicky.
off.
It turned off?
This one's finicky.
I think golden.
No, this one's different.
It smells like Starburst.
Okay, so yeah.
It's like yours is,
because
I
of
think,
my
yeah, mine needs to like drill it into my ear. I need like drill it into my ear. This is so much more different.
Let's hang here and wait for the
Oh, yeah. This one is so much more different because you need to drill this into your ear. And it goes only in your right. That one only puts it over. It's supposed to like cover over. You're not supposed to put it over. It's just supposed to. But this is supposed to go like deep into your.
Yeah, but I'm surprised like this one is like. Eric's V. Oh, we need flash to this. This is dark URT. Come on.
That guy looks like he just loved people. I'm just looking at this. This looks like somebody just got loved. This guy looks like he loved them. Oh, this is the. Oh, this is the January 6th riot. That guy looks like he could probably kill us. Are we here?
Yep.
No.
Good.
I'm
I'm
here.
gonna be here. Okay. Let me tell you where we are and why
It's
we're here.
not Biden. It's William. Oh, wow.
There we go. That's enough. Okay, we're on the top floor of the building. But this is a very different usage. The lower 3 floors was for the immigration service, which housed the dormitories for the detention, the interview rooms. Actually, you see all those in it. The immigration court, and the cafeteria, and all those processing rooms and things like that. But we took a shortcut. We took an elevator up. Now imagine you're one of those Chinese boys who came here in 1932. You were 10 years old. You got here, got through the detention, got out to the Seattle area, went to live in Chinatown. Your next goal is to find a job, or you might have a job lined up already by then. Happened that you got sent up to Alaska to mine gold. Who knows that Alaska had gold, or had gold? Yes, because Alaska, in the Klondike area, we found gold in 1900. And the gold didn't decimate until 1955 when this office closed. So you're one of the miners who actually went up to Alaska to try your hand. But remember, being Chinese, you had no right to the claim. You're just one of the worker. But you got hard working enough that your boss let you have a portion of your day. So you got a good boss. So you got a share of the gold. And now, fast forward 5 years. You made a bunch of gold from that the contract that you went up to work for. You want to go home. You want to see your grandma. You want to see your mom. So you take the elevator up here with your bag of gold sand, and you came to this office. Have you ever heard of an essay office? Not the kind you write. Okay?
It's spelled differently too.
It's spelled differently, but it sounds the same.
Yeah.
So I would like to point out that it's not the kind that your teacher tells you to write every week. This is called an essay office because it actually was the official standard for gold that was issued by the government. So typically, in big cities, you will have an essay office, especially if they have a gold source that is raw. And each essay office have their own distinct mark. So that's how you can tell from antique gold and silver which region that essay came from, that piece came from. Okay? Especially when you are in English silvers, each mark is so distinct that you can tell right away which region the essay office this was stamped out from. Okay? So here in Seattle, this essay office was here when this building was built in 1932 and opened up to serve the qualified folks who are bringing their gold sand in to be purified and turned into actual gold bars.
They did that here.
Here,
Oh.
right here.
Okay.
And that's the processing office here. And back there, there's the vault, the store, or the gold. I'll take you around to see the vault in a minute. But that's the express elevator to your dream. Because you made it through here. Between the 2 floors, 3 floors down below, there were a lot of peasants who were still in the dormitories, waiting to come up to look at that dream.
Huh.
Or waiting to see if they get to go to that dream. Make sense? Because you were all in the detention dormitories until they let you out. You don't know where you're going. Your life is on hold as long as you're in the detention dormitory. So that's how most Chinese workmen had to go through until we actually repealed the exclusion law in 1943. But interviews still done, records still kept up to the 70s, occasionally. Depends on who you are, depends on where you came from, depends on what your connections were. So I'm sure it's still done because immigration interview is still a thing. Because I actually personally went through this process when I came to the US. I came to the US as a foreign student. I went through this in this building. Not as harsh. And at that time, there were too many of us, so they will only interview you once. But every time when I have to renew my green card, they will come through here, they will come through to answer the questions to be processed through. It's a minor inconvenience to say that you have a life here now already. But you have to pause everything, and God forbid they don't stamp your card. What are you gonna do? Can you go back to the office tomorrow? No. Until they stamp your card, you're not legal here. It was still like that, it's still like this. So that's why we have all these issues about illegal immigrants running around in town. That's because you didn't get the paperwork sorted through. So yeah, so that's how it was. It has not really improved a lot. But this building has been repurposed in 2004 because they outgrew this capacity. They outgrew this capacity. We were talking about officially about a 300-bed dormitory here, but they outgrew it.
There were still people
Oh yes,
detained.
yes, but they're not Chinese anymore at that point. We'll talk about it when we get to the photo. But once they outgrew this, and there was all this discussion and blah, 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 the city, actually the feds, decided to build a new detention center. That's why it went to Tukwila and Tacoma. That's when INS got split, administrative and detention center, Tacoma and Tacoma. Because that center down in Tacoma is huge.
Oh, wow.
It's like a hotel outside. If you look at it, it's like a big, huge block. But of course, you're not in a hotel. Anyway, so this is the SA office. This is where a lot of Chinese streams would end up. Okay, if you happen to be able to get to the goal. For those who didn't, you will be in the community working, and you will have to go through that stamping, renewing process downstairs in the area that we will go through in a minute. Okay? Questions on the SA office? If you guys ever want to go down to see the SA machine, go down to the Combat Museum. They have the machine there now. The one at on Irish Square, the second and Jackson. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's come over. We'll just do a quick walkthrough. This is actually the office, according on the SA office. And so you see all the little rooms being divided up. And down here is the vault that they store all the gold ingots. This is the vault. And when it's open, it's like this. It's just a big closet, reinforced closet, that they store all the gold bars and ingots in there, in shelves. The SA office was closed in 1955. And after that, there's no more gold in this building. So guess what these folks were using this room for? Weapons. Yes, guns. Because they worried that the dormitory folks would revolt and they would be in trouble. So they store all the armory and weapons in here so they could pull it out if there's a disturbance. Okay? All right, we'll head downstairs one level. Be careful of the staircase. I'm going to sit down if you want to. There's a few chairs. Okay. We are actually on this wing that is the immigration court. Yeah, come over. This is where, especially in the later years, when they allowed you to have legal representation, your lawyer would come up to this level and would go to the immigration court with you to argue for your case. This is the section that they will be open to the public for all the legal matters. The judge will be in there, and your appointment with your lawyer will go and see the judge and not negotiate with what you can do and what you cannot do, and hopefully get your case approved.
What would be an example of a case? Just what's an example of a case? Like what's something that they would need?
Okay,
representation for?
I will tell you a story. We don't have a lot of time, but my husband's mother was Hawaiian. It didn't happen here, it happened in Hawaii. She married a Chinese laborer, well, a merchant actually. And at that time, if you married a Chinese, you lost your citizenship, you lost your American identity.
Wow.
So, but then they went home because there was the war, World War II. So our grandfather took grandma and the children to come to the village
In China.
in China.
China. Okay.
So when she came back, she had to petition. And then she has to go through all these legal hoops to prove that she was born and raised in Hawaii. She has legal status here. Actually, when my mother-in-law, she was of age by the time she came back. Her case actually was read at, I think, House of Representatives to be negotiated, to be argued whether she's allowed to be back in as an American citizen's daughter. So yeah, but you have to argue your individual case.
Yes. Okay. Okay. that's
There's
good.
no standard law to apply to the Asians. So if you have money and the resources, you have more chance to get back in. You just fight.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. So here, you see the book piece? I call it the book piece because they're built holes. That was the rivets that anchored the chain link fences. That divide this section, because back here is the dormitory.
Oh, right, okay.
So you will not be able to come and go as you please. Even when your lawyer comes here, the guys will come to the dormitory,
Unlock
open
the
the
door,
door,
gate or whatever.
and let you, and say, call you. Hey, Jimmy, come here, it's your turn. That one, okay? All right, let's move on. We'll go down the other side real quick, and then we'll go down here. So through the years, legal representation is getting better, but you know, sometimes that's the only way you can fight, because you may be about to be deported. And getting a lawyer to argue your case is the only way to get through, because they know better than you how to phrase your case. So interesting enough, this was a library for the detainees. But I can tell you, they were all in English. So how many of you, what can you read? And we don't have a Chinese newspaper until the 1970s.
Oh, wow.
In a local printed like newspaper. So there's nothing to read. The library just to count for show. So on this side is the cafeteria. Remember, we are holding about 300 people or more in here. So we have to feed them, right? Every day, 3 meals a day. So back here is the cafeteria. And, sorry. Depends on the era, you have different cooks that serves in there. In the early years, you will have the Chinese cooks that were brought in to serve, because your population being held here were mostly Chinese. And later on, is held Southeast Asia. Well, first of all, in the 40s, they held some of the Japanese folks. Remember what Maya was saying, that some of the community elders were held here? They were held actually one floor down, in the isolation cells down on this end, and we'll see it. So they were held here. Subsequent years, they were held Southeast Asians. They were eventually held Muslim folks after 9/11, and African Americans who came here from like newly immigrated from the continent, the African continent. So those were folks who didn't have all the paperwork done maybe, or they were transferring from another state or another part of the country that they didn't get all the paperwork aligned. They got stopped on the street, they got put up here. So it's still happening, okay? As children who grew up here or born here, you probably would not see it ever. And would not understand. Hi. Hi. So that's some of the stories that I want to tell you guys that could happen. So if sometimes if you see someone being pulled over on the street, he may not have done something wrong. He may just because he looked the profile of an immigrant that could be in trouble. Okay? So yeah, that's for us to tell, the stories. That's not always as simple as how you see it or you look at things. Okay? All right, questions so far on the floor here?
The detainees
Uh-huh.
that lived on this floor,
Right.
they couldn't read, right?
Well, they
So-
could read, but they could not read English.
Right. But did they, what did they do? Did they tell stories, play games, write letters back home?
Yes, I mean, they are being held in the dormitories. Whatever they do in there is their choice, but there was not a lot of room because it was always packed. So we have pictures of them playing mahjong in the dormitories. If you can read Chinese, you may be able to get some books to read, or you brought books to read on the boat that you can read. The main thing is you are under lock and key the whole time.
And the other question is, how long You said there wasn't a time frame for.
No,
the
yes.
quarantine. What was the typical stay?
We have family who report from 3 to 4 weeks to up to a year.
Wow.
And that year, you'll be on hold. It's a pause button on your life.
Right.
So until you get to know what your next step is, you really can't do anything. So that's what it is. And a lot of them will be interviewed repeatedly because part of the way they phrase this and they structure this is if you have repeated the answer enough times, you will mess up. You'll make a mistake.
Right.
And your interview is going to be compared to the same set of questions that your sponsor will be interviewed with for separately. So they can correlate whether you are answering truthfully or he's answering truthfully or not. So the interviews could go back and forth, and they always have an interpreter.
If they make a mistake in their process, does that mean they get detained longer?
Yeah, because then you go back to the interview table and then start again. Until they got fed up with you and said, oh, you're hopeless. You just keep lying to us. You go home. So the only 2 ways to get out of this building was to finish your interview successfully, be able to got yourself out. It's like Monopoly, out of jail.
Right.
So you can get out and live in the community. But you failed, ultimately you failed it, you will be sent to the next boat going home. You'll be deported. So that's the only 2 ways to get out of here. Unless you die.
Oh,
Okay?
That's not,
That's a third way, okay?
yes.
But that's the desperate way. So that's the story. So actually we have an anecdote here. When the Chinese were here and the cooks were Chinese, one of the servers would be singing regularly when he served. People thought it was entertaining until one of the interpreters got access to the cafeteria. Usually they don't because they will be in the interview room on the other side. They heard what he was singing and reported him because he was singing answers to the interview questions. Some of the general questions.
Oh.
So he was people thought he was singing opera.
He was helping them.
Yeah,
He was helping them, yeah.
but he was singing some of the general question answers. So of course.
So was he like fired?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, man.
Yes, so that was one of the stories. Okay, let's go downstairs to the second floor.
Somebody lives there. I think this place is no longer an island, but people still use it.
So like it's like an apartment.
Yeah, like an apartment that's not an apartment. It's an apartment that makes you that makes me sense at all.
Okay, this is the portion that the isolation cells were, and that's where the Japanese seniors were being housed on this wing, okay, after Pearl Harbor. They actually, the Fed agents went to the Nihonmachi district, which is just north of us on Japan Street, the next day, the very next day, December 8th, and round up all the community member leaders who were bilingual, who speak Japanese, and brought them down here. A lot of them did not get to see their families early on in the war because they were taken to a different conversation, a different camp rather than they just were in houses back to the most of them. But I don't get. But these men who were the community leaders were sent to like. So they could only write to the family, said unsafe. But that's not believable too. Okay, so let's go to the front there and I'll point out a few things before we have the legend back out to the front and exchange for the here. Remember I told you dormitory was under lock and key? And you are not allowed to go freely anywhere? Every day, you have half an hour of free time here. You'll be led by the guard to come down from your dormitory to the foyer here and spend outdoors for 30 minutes. So let me ask you, are we in And interesting enough, this was ran by the Department of
Oh,
So
right.
now understand why the operation is like this.
Yes.
Because it was ran as a prison. Anyway, the reason why I brought you guys out here is like when they were out here trailing in the summer, these used to be gnar on the edges to kind of seal everything. The top is married. So people, as you can look on the wall, some of you might recognize different languages. These are names, comments, locations that they used to come to draw on the wall to identify who they were.
Yeah.
If you are locked here for a long period of time, after a while, you don't see the end of the tunnel. Do you worry that you just disappear? So this is what you find. I was here. Yes,
Yeah, while they lived here.
While they were living here.
Yeah. Some of us used to be not very 20 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And later on, you will see all the languages from like Arabic, Southeast Asia, and all these, they were mixed then by then because they were coming in different generations and different family sectors. But the early Chinese people as young as you guys. That's what but you definitely see. No attitude. So, but that was their way of leaving a mark. It's almost like you press on people in prison, showing crosses on the wall to back the days. So, that's like that. And actually, I was showing something on the wall. Here, like that.
Can't get her anyway.
And you don't know even, can you ever get across? That's less than a mile. How ironic. I mean, I like to do these imagery because the movies tell the story. So that I can tell you first. So imagine that. You're stuck here and you look at them and you hear them. On the 8th day, they're so loud, you hear them. You can hear them in the museum, actually.
Oh, good man.
Yeah. So you are really looking at you and objects when you all within the earth. Okay? I want to tell you the urgency and the true feeling they have. That am I ever going to get one of those? It's very, very sad. It's just, but you just want to that are right for ourselves. We have to be you don't know. But why are we being treated differently than other immigrants? Why us? Okay, I'm gonna take you downstairs and let you see the happy side of things.
I'm excited that you actually
Okay, we'll go down the stairs and go to the. Why don't we stay away from me because I want to shut the door. Just stay here. We're going together.
Oh my god. How close do you have to be?
Ooh, look at that. That's fun.
Why would you do that?
Then
Van Gogh Bell, artist and metropolitan equal was invited for a ton of places. On vanbell.net,
Let me
www.vanbell.net.
through, please, thank you.
Okay, let's get up here. The other group, maybe I'll find
Go
later.
downstairs again.
I know, I'm not fun. Hi, Emma recording. Hi, Emma recording.
It's been
You want to get your
Hi, the recording of Emma that Emma will probably look at in 30
Okay.
years. I'm her best friend, and yeah, I'm just better than her.
This also is the end of the immigration process. When you finally meet all the requirements and gone through all the interviews and filed all the paperwork, you get stamped to be accepted to become an American. How do you legally become an American? You didn't born where you were not born here.
Where to know?
What do you call that?
Loyalty oath?
You will be given the citizenship after you naturalize yourself to become an American. Okay? And this is where you will be. It is a theater now, but they still do ceremonies when they were in the island building, when they're still practicing committed. This is where you will actually be able to swear leading to the flag of the country and become American. So this is the happy place. Okay, questions? Questions on anything I said earlier in this tour? Because we'll take you up front and we'll switch you guys out with your next group. Ah, there you are. Perfect timing.